So when it comes to AI, there's like two extremes. Some people say it's going to be all great and positive, and other people say it's going to be negative. What I want to explore in this video is what dangerous effects might AI have on our freedom, and what risks does it have for society and democracy in general. So we do not know where this whole development is going and where it might take us. However, there might definitely be a downside to it. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence and the structural transformation of the private sphere, a farewell to Kantian ethics through introducing AI as a system of governance. Now, the structure of the paper is like this. So the introduction, problems of human rights in the digital age of the 21st century. Then first chapter, AI, the new utopian vision for the future, the question of structure and democratic governance. Number 2 is Big Brother watching, the role of AI. And number 3, AI as a way of ensuring ethics and equality. And the conclusions, the new panopticon, securing and governing human rights through surveillance. Yeah, as you can hear, my voice is a bit, let's say, damaged from a throat infection. Anyway, so let's get started. It's impossible to get through all this stuff like thoroughly in 20 minutes. I'm going to do my best though. Right, so let's see. AI and problems of human rights in the digital age of the 21st century. So first, let's see what AI is actually about, and let's give it a short definition. So it's an enabler of many industries and facets of human life: scientific research, education, manufacturing, logistics, transportation, defense, law enforcement, politics, advertising, art, culture, and more. So it affects everything, basically. And there's 1,000 ways to use it. And so they add the characteristics of AI, including its capacities to learn, evolve, and surprise, will disrupt and transform them all. The outcome will be the alteration of human identity and the human experience of reality at levels not experienced since the dawn of the modern age. So in that case, AI will have a significant impact on all of our lives and the world in general. Now, if this is positive or negative, well, we can only speculate for now, but I think we'll see quite soon. So, Kang Fu Lee, the Chinese AI researcher and pioneer of AI, he distinguishes 4 waves of AI. The first wave is the internet AI. Then the second, business AI. Let's see investment models like Aladdin and all these things. Then perception AI, and autonomous AI as the 4th wave of AI. Well, it all kind of like culminates in AGI, artificial general intelligence. So the problem is, what exactly is this? I think because AI is everywhere. So I mean, it's like all over the news. Everyone is talking about it, but probably no one has a real idea of what exactly it is. So it's just an algorithm, like a very fancy algorithm or something like that. And or is it something more? And so AGI, like AI, AGI has no precise definition. However, it is generally understood to mean AI capable of completing any intellectual task humans are capable of, in contrast to today's narrow AI, which is developed to complete a specific task, let's say, like translation or so, right? And so basically, what they're trying to achieve is actually like a sentient AI. So that would be like the goal. Then that probably also doesn't have consciousness. And well, I mean, right now, it's just still a long way to go. Now, so far, AI has limitations. So let's say AI cannot reflect. That means it's still up to humans to decide what it's used for, okay? So humans must regulate and monitor the technology and also, let's say, feed it information. So AI cannot contextualize and, well, like a human being, and it kind of like becomes difficult in that regard. Like Google's image recognition software has infamously mislabeled images of people as animals and animals as guns. So these errors were plain to any human but eluded the AI. Not only are AIs incapable of reflection, they also make mistakes, including mistakes that any human would regard as rudimentary. And while developers are continually weeding out flaws, deployment has often preceded troubleshooting. So it's not perfect yet, and it is not sentient yet. So let's jump to the first chapter, AI, the new utopian vision for the future, the question of structuring democratic governance. And as I said, it's impossible to go into detail in that short of a time. And the thing, what I want to point out is like AI as a model of governance is basically not something that has not been thought about before. Like in the GDR, they try to use cybernetics. They had this dream of a self-organizing, self-governing system. So, in dieser Vorstellung einer mit Hilfe von Computern vollständig informierten und sich harmonisch ergänzenden gesellschaftlichen Entwicklung brauchte die Partei nur noch die Anlagen entsprechend zu programmieren. So actually, it's like the Communist Party of East Germany. All they had to do is like feed the cybernetic model, like information, program it, and then it would just run itself. And then alles andere würde sich dann im Selbstlauf eines kybernetischen Systems vollziehen. So everything kind of takes care of itself in this cybernetic system. Now, this cybernetic system is like im Rahmen der sozialistischen Ordnung. It's within the socialist order. And then they can just achieve an effective and quite perfect economy. As we know, this didn't happen. Yes, so, I mean, they were broke and had to rely on basically money from the West Germany, ironically. So now the question of ethics in the system. Let's say, I mean, like there's machines and algorithms that kind of are in charge of society and its institutions. The problem is like, do they have ethics? Probably not. So I just take Immanuel Kant's ethics and his thoughts on it. So basically, what does he want? It's like it's a moral duty of social responsibility and moral performance, right? Every individual has this duty. Yeah, he believed that every individual just carries this moral law inside of him or her. Okay. Now the problem is, how do you know that you live a moral and ethical life? You have to self-observe, and so then you can always kind of like question: was it moral, was it ethical, or not? Now, the problem is like if we look at AI, the way it can be used, and I'm going to talk about this in the end of the paper, it's kind of a reversal of the system, of the situation, because, I mean, you're not observing yourself, you're being observed, okay? So this whole Protestant notion of kind of like observing yourself, if you live a pious and, you know, just a moral life the way God wants you to, I mean, we just, you know, this drops out of the equation then. So, I mean, in the end, what the goal is basically a panopticon. So everybody's observed and surveilled all the time. So we can say this is also something very, very different from what like civil society has evolved to like during the 19th century. I'm going to explain this in a minute with Habermas. So it's the problem, like ethics versus technology. If technology does not have a moral compass, because, I mean, it has to be programmed to have, right? Then we can only say, probably, like Habermas says, die neuen Technologien drängen uns in einen öffentlichen Diskurs über das richtige Verständnis der kulturellen Lebensform als solche auf. So new technologies require new discussion and new discourses about the right understanding of cultural life. Und die Philosophen haben keine guten Gründe mehr, diesen Streitgegenstand Biowissenschaftlern und Science-Fiction begeisterten Ingenieuren zu überlassen. So philosophers have no reason or no excuse to leave these things up to the scientists. No, actually, philosophy plays a vital part in these new developments. And so his criticism is as follows. Like advance in technology require an ethical evaluation of their employment in cultural systems. And Habermas calls on philosophers to take responsibility for the ethical management of modern technology. There has to be oversight in terms of like moral and ethical guidelines. Now, there's a need of public discourse about the application of technology, right? It's very important, like the people kind of get involved in this discussion. Of course, then the question remains of ethics in a modern high-tech environment in general, okay? I mean, if the society changes to such a degree that probably it doesn't resemble like our traditional society, or let's say modern society anymore, then the problem is ethics takes as we used to have them, would this still be appropriate in this new system? So the problem is then, as I just said, like when AI is used to kind of observe and surveil everyone all the time, then this would be a problem about privacy, right? Because privacy, in a way, is a prerequisite of dignity. So maybe then it's not technologies that's the problem. Because, I mean, technologies does not guarantee human dignity, right? So it's an ethical responsibility. So how do you govern individual human dignity, or who is supposed to govern that? Is it the system itself, or is it like every individual themselves? So it can be questioned if human dignity can be guaranteed through security and through state control. And that's always a problem of becoming totalitarian. So, yeah, I'm going to skip this part. But number two, speaking about totalitarian, is Big Brother watching the role of AI? So increased state surveillance, and Habermas also points to this. He says, like, well, the state has intruded the private sphere since the end of the last century massively. And so this, of course, set its limitations on human privacy, and of course also about on a human, maybe freedom of speech, and so on. Yeah. And he says, well, there might be some benefits. Probably some, let's say, poor individuals could benefit from this, from state interference or intervention. But it also means that other people would not benefit. Okay. So this might be going in both directions, yeah? Either direction. So we know that Big Brother is watching you. So that's Anna Utek. She writes, the powerful new wave of technology is not being adopted for mainstream use in a variety of contexts. As the full geolocation tracking capabilities materialize, we are at risk of being more visible and more exposed as we move through the spaces of our everyday lives. The surveillance and privacy implications are profound. We know this, like you have a cell phone on your hand. I mean, you basically can be tracked wherever you go. So this is also like how this it has an impact on your personal information. Privacy in the internet. On the internet, does it exist? So for decades, an essential principle of privacy laws around the world has been to put individuals in control by letting them decide whether, how, and by whom their personal information may be processed. In the internet age, this laud idea has often morphed into a formulaic system of notice and consent. In the era of big data, however, when much of data's value is in secondary uses that may have been unimagined when the data was collected, such a mechanism to ensure privacy is no longer suitable. Yes, so it means that all our data is collected all the time, and of course with new AI tools, I mean, it's even, it's even more like it's easier to get a very, very accurate profile of someone. And usually, like how these things are implemented is through safety, right? So we can protect you and whatever from hackers and I don't know what. So big data prevents a strong invitation to predict which people are likely to commit crimes and subject them to special treatment, scrutinizing them over and over in the name of risk reduction. People categorized in this way may feel, quite rightly, that they're being punished without ever being confronted and held responsible for actual behavior. So this is like Minority Report, right? We can predict crimes and arrest the individual, the perpetrator, potential perpetrator in advance, just to make things safer. And of course, we need a lot of data to do this, because then the algorithms or the AI can predict and evaluate. So what individual is likely to commit what crime? I don't know about the timeline though. So AI, third chapter, as a way of ensuring ethics and equality, that's a good question. So, Kai-Fu Lee writes again, the coming crisis of jobs and inequality. So, AI might threaten the economy and a lot of traditional jobs. And what he lists is like, let's say, accountants, or like people who work as administrators, civil servants. So their jobs can easily be taken over by AI. and then you can just get rid of like most of your staff, basically. That means in the end, of course, I mean, there's going to be a bigger economic divide between the haves and have-nots, which also means like they will most likely be located in societies that can rely and afford like strong AI systems, and those who can't. So that means it's an inequality machine, basically. AI poor countries against AI rich countries. And we see this right now. I mean, the biggest AI nations are the US and China. And I mean, let's say for Europe, I think it's not been really playing a very significant role yet. I don't know what's to come. So, and Li Kai-Fu, he also senses the danger for individual dignity. So a regular paycheck has become a way not just of rewarding labor, but also of signaling the people that one is a valued member of society, a contributor to a common project. Gives you like self-value, and of course the feeling of being appreciated and contributing something important to the common good. And that's the problem. So unemployment triggers depression. So rates of depression triple among those unemployed for 6 months, and people looking for work are twice as likely to commit suicide as the gainfully employed. Alcohol abuse and opioid overdoses both rise alongside unemployment rates, with some scholars attributing rising mortality rates among uneducated white Americans to declining economic outcomes, a phenomenon they call death of despair. So having a purpose, having a reason through, let's say, work or like a goal is very important for one's self-esteem. And so it's also a basic human right. I'm just going to skip that. And so, see, the thing is like with all the internet, social media, it's an explosion of communication opportunities, of course. And this is also related to freedom, because freedom can be seen as a guarantee of increased opportunity to communicate, right? I mean, if I can talk about whatever I want with whomever I want, that's good. If it's restricted, then this freedom is taken away from me or limited. So we have this in social media. And then surveillance would limit this freedom. And if you have like a strong AI, let's say a surveillance apparatus, of course, it would be easy to monitor and then basically censor or whatever through these things. So my conclusions here, the new panopticon, securing and governing human rights through surveillance. I use panopticon, according to Foucault's panopticon. So a centralized surveillance system in a prison, right? It was in the 18th century, late 18th century when they came up with it. So the guards towers in the middle of the prison, and they have a 360-degree view of everything, basically. So the inmates are never unobserved. So, and this is, of course, the utmost elimination of privacy possible. So, and interesting because, of course, like digital technologies that offer many, many even better ways to surveil and observe people all the time, wherever they go. So it's, see, I write it here, smart technology, the digital panopticon. So it's a total, utter elimination of privacy. Everyone knows where you are. Everyone knows what you're doing. You have even your innermost private life and your innermost private thoughts can be tracked. And, just because what are you looking at online? I mean, what are you buying? What are you interested in? So you have a profile that's very accurate. So the individual becomes completely transparent, and it's a very, very precise method to profile every single individual and to have also control over mobility, because you know where everyone goes all the time. The culmination of the idea utopia is actually in the concept of the smart city, a city running on technology, on AI. I'll just give a very short overview. So the smart city may reposition and reconceptualize everyday privacy. And you have no privacy. Now, for critical smart city scholars, the definition of openness underscores that smart city descriptions are not neutral and, in fact, vested with a variety of neoliberal political and economic interests of a variety of actors and institutions. Of course, it's safer because you're under surveillance all the time. There's less opportunity to commit crimes, and everything's convenient, and everything's basically running on these controlled systems controlled by AI. So, the factor of convenience. comes into play. Safety and convenience. Okay. Anyway, would this be an improvement? It would be a radical change to what we're having now. And people are discussing this. So in a way, and this is my last point here, the transformation of the public sphere, that's Habermas. So formerly the civil, like bourgeois apartment was like the place of privacy. You had doors for every room. You could just, retreat to these rooms, close the door, no one would look inside. And in smart cities, it would be the elimination of privacy. Everyone would be open to surveillance. Everyone would be transparent all the time. And everyone would be included and bound to this surveillance system. And this basically reverses what Kant had in mind when he said, like, an individual has to be responsible for themselves, but also for society. And so now you have a social responsibility and you impact society. The problem is now, it's not like in Habermas's case, so you can basically retreat to your private room. No, because now it's not you observing like society, but the system itself is observing you all the time. So in a way, it's the transformation of the private sphere through technology. All right, these are my thoughts on AI. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave a comment. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.